The postseason is here for the NA3HL Danbury Jr. Hat Tricks. Welcome to the preview episode of the Fraser Cup playoffs. I'm Chris Lynch here with the head coach of the Danbury Jr. Hat Tricks, Tyler Noseworthy. And coach, first off, congratulations on making it through the regular season. I know that's always a big milestone when you're through that. So let's talk about the course of the regular season and how this team really developed and came together throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, I mean, regular season, there's obviously ups and downs. It's a long, grueling process. We kind of always had that second place mark, on our calendars, in our minds there. That's kind of always been our goal as a group. And I mean, I got to hand to them. We got there, and it was pretty much at the end of the season when we worked to get that position. So, we were very happy to get there. I think we're now gelling at the right times. Everyone's really buying in, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, let's talk about the last week, 2 weeks of the season, really, where Reese has the hard hit in the game against Norwich, which was a weird game in itself because of the timing involved. It was originally supposed to be played in Norwich, but ended up getting played here, and that game really seemed to be, I don't know if the turning point is the right way just because of all the stuff that went on in the game, but that game really did seem to be an important emotional spot in the season.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a couple of things happened there. So the game prior to that, I believe we lost in Bay State. So that was, that was kind of one of those aha moments where we just kind of had to have a meeting as a group. I think we had about a 3-4 hour meeting there, and just tried to make sure that we were on the same page here, make sure that the emotions were where they should be, and understand that, when we do things the right way, we're a pretty good hockey team, and there's not a lot of teams that can play with us. So, fast forward the following day, we were supposed to be in Norwich. They had rink issues, so we come here. It's 2-0, I think, with about 5 minutes left. Reese goes down, and, obviously a scary moment. He had to be taken off on a stretcher there. So that was, I really wasn't sure how we were going to respond to that. There were some emotional guys on the bench. The ref had come over and asked if we were going to look to continue because of the time that was left in the game. And, I got to hand it to those guys. They just said, listen, coach, we want to play. I think Reese would want to play if he was in our shoes. And, I think the rest is history in the fact that we scored in that power play. There was 11 seconds left, tied it up, and then within the first 20 seconds of overtime won the game. So that was a pretty special thing to be a part of.
And the guy who scored that overtime winner, Roman Winicky, I mean, what a player he turned out to be, the team's leading scorer. I think he was top 15 in the entire NA3HL in scoring and also in points per game. What did he do throughout the back course? Because there were points early on where he showed a real skill, but he really developed as the season went along. Yeah,
I mean, listen, that's a guy there. It just seemed like every single day he just got a little bit better and a little bit better. I think he actually finished second in assists in the entire league. So putting up 50 assists, that's a tough thing to do.
But, whatever league you're playing.
Whatever league you're playing in, 100%. So, I got to hand it to him. He was a guy. He obviously has aspirations to play at the next level, but I just kind of told him to stick with it, and it's only going to benefit him to gain that confidence and put up numbers and all that type of stuff. It's only going to help his game overall. And he, like I said, I think on a daily basis, he was just a guy that continued to progress, continued to get better, and actually took on more of a leadership role as we went along as well. The guys really respect him.
And I'm sure it benefited him as well that he was on a line with Oleg Igorov and Brody True centering him, two guys that played off of him really well, and three guys that really, as the season went along, they started to know better and better where the other was going to be on the ice, and it led to a really productive unit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you spend, this amount of time playing with guys, I pretty much kept them together all year. I think I might have broken them up maybe 2 or 3 times just to kind of get other guys going and kind of use them to ignite a couple guys. But I mean, for the most part, they kind of stuck together. And Oleg has, close to 30 goals now. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but
I think it's 27.
When you got a guy putting up almost 30 goals, and there's a good guy feeding him the puck all the time, and then you got a little bulldog in Brody True who just works and works and works. that's a pretty good recipe for a good line. So, that line is a big part of why we were able to get that second place position, and ultimately why now we're kind of grooving at the right time.
And to fill out more of that offensive role, how big of an addition coming back was Nick Rogers coming back into the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, that's I kind of have him and Dennis Radchenko in the same light. It's essentially when they're both on their game and when they're both giving 100% effort, it's men amongst boys out there. So that was obviously a big piece, for people that kind of tuned in last year. I think Rogers had 6 or 7 goals in playoffs last year. Is pretty much the reason why we were able to basically be 1 goal shy of going to St. Louis for that big dance there. But he's obviously been huge. I think he's right around a goal a game right now in the regular season to finish. And if we're gonna end up taking that extra step this year and beating and winning the East Division to get to St. Louis, he's going to have to be a big part of that. You
alluded to him earlier, but Dennis Radchenko voted Defenseman of the Month in the entire NA3HL with a +17. I know the defenseman role is of course you have to defend, but he still put up 17 points from that blue line spot throughout the course of the month of February.
Yeah, I mean, so like there was some times there where I had to kind of continue to keep him engaged and keep him checked in because it felt like maybe the product wasn't quite fulfilling him. That being said, every time I challenged him, he rose to the occasion, and he really is coming into his own here at the right time. He's accepted a leadership role. He's emotionally invested in this group and this team. And I'll tell you one thing, based on the meetings that we've been having as of late as a group, it's funny because his English is starting to get pretty good now too, and he's got no problem stepping up in front of the group and really showing vulnerability and emotions with regards to, his role on the team and what he's looking for out of our group. And to be honest with you, it's very good to see. I'm very proud of how he's kind of come along and accepted the role that I've given him on our team. He's a big part of it.
And you've picked up a couple of guys throughout the course of the season as that's gone along. Rogers was with the team at the very start of the season, went away, came back after recovering from an injury as well. But you picked up a couple of guys. Sam Levin, who's been a good pickup on the blue line. People like Jack Klunk and Lucas Snafe, who have filled out some of the depth up front on the forward lines. What's been the response that the new guys have had since they've come into this organization?
Yeah, I mean, so Levs was he's the newest guy. I got him pretty much an hour or two before the deadline there when we were in Pittsburgh at the top prospects. That was a guy that I felt like every time we played New Jersey, he was a little bit of a thorn. I love players like that. I think if you can kind of harness that and play that role the right way, I think it's extremely effective. So that's going to be my challenge for him moving forward. Obviously, in playoffs, emotions can get going pretty high. He's a guy that definitely has to manage that, but when he's at his best, he's a big part of what we're doing here now. You look at our back end with Dennis and Reese and Levin. I think Dennis has 54 points. I think Levs and Reese are just south of 30 points, so that there's some high-end scoring there on our back end. So yeah. I'm going to be leaning on those guys a lot. Levs is a big piece of that. Jack came in a little bit earlier than Sam. Picked him up from a team in Texas. Honestly, he's a glue guy. He's a dressing room guy. In my opinion, he's probably one of the best wingers that I have on the wall with regards to making hard plays, and that's been a challenge as of late. It's pretty much something that we touch on a daily basis. I implement in practice. There's a lot of times where I feel like we're kind of giving up freebies, putting pucks in the middle of the ice when we should just make it a little bit easier for ourselves. Keep it on the wall, get it out past their D, and let our centers and weak side wing kind of hunt across so we can go on offense. So that's been a challenge as of late, but he's kind of that guy who's just accepted that role. He gets pucks in deep, he finishes hits, he's got timely shifts, and the boys really love him. He's a good voice in the room as well.
And one other important player who's been, I think, kind of under talked about in circles in the NA3HL, but Ryan McGuire in net. It's hard to quantify how much a good goaltender can give you some serious confidence, and Ryan certainly has done that for you.
Yeah, I mean, Nothing about what we do here as a team is perfect. I've kind of, my frustration as the year has gone along has been, how we defend and how hard and tenacious we defend. I think we give up way too many shots, and honestly, without him, I don't know if we're in the position that we're in. The fact that he's, I think 20-8 or something like that is outstanding.
A 934 save.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy. He's, in my opinion, we've talked about a lot of high-end players. You got Roman Winicky with 70 points, a defenseman in Radchenko with 54 points,
Oleg with
almost 30 goals. But in my opinion, I think McGuire's our MVP. He's our rock. The guys really respect him. I think when he speaks up in the locker room, it's kind of like when the teacher's talking. It's like it's almost good to have that additional voice from an O2 guy that is very well respected. I mean, obviously with me, I'm a standalone coach, so I really appreciate my vets, my leaders, kind of stepping in when need be. Sometimes it's just a different voice that needs to be heard, and the guys really respect him. He's done a fantastic job so far.
Let's turn the attention to looking forward towards the playoff series. It'll be Norwich with the game Thursday here at the Danbury Ice Arena, and Friday on the road in Norwich. Game 3 would be Saturday, if that is necessary. Of course, you're hoping that that it's only the 2 games that are needed. And Norwich, the third-place team in the league, gave some real challenges early on and gave some real good fights. I remember an overtime loss that you guys had against those guys earlier on in the season. What did those guys do so well that has given people a lot of trouble?
So I think with them, they have really good structure. I think whereas our skill set is, I want to say almost substantially better. I think they know what they are. They come in waves. They work. They're simple. They're very well structured. So I got to hand it to them. They certainly buy into that. My challenge to our guys has always been, see Norwich, see what they do very well, and understand that if we can dial into that slightly and have our skill set, we're an extremely dangerous team. So that's kind of been my challenge all year, to really get these guys to understand that, sometimes less is more on the ice, and when you play the game the right way, you're going to get rewarded, right? Like, do the right things from our goal line up to the red, from the red down to their goal line. We can be offensive, we can take chances. Mm-hmm. But, my challenge has always been less is more. Take advantage when we get our opportunity on offense, and I think that's what Norwich does very well. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really good series,
and especially against a good coach in Kevin Cunningham, who had a big jump, because Norwich didn't have a great season last year, and they really improved from last season to this year. If you just take a look at the standings, that's one of the most remarkable jumps in the league.
For sure. I think they had a few returning guys who took some major steps. A couple new guys that come in and kind of fill some voids. So I mean, you got to hand it to them. That's pretty good to go from worst to third type thing. So good for them. They're a good team, and like I said, it's going to be a good first round.
Thursday here at the Danbury Ice Arena will be Game 1 of the NA3HL's East Division opening round series between the Hat-Tricks and Sea Captains. Good luck in that series, Coach. We'll see you here for that game on Thursday.